Or what you should really do is you should cut these 15 unprofitable SKUs, let the business run for another year, build up a track record, and I can sell it for significantly more. So it's oftentimes it's not the most exciting stuff if your background isn't in finance, but you can really move the needle quite a bit understanding it well. The other major thing I would say is make the business as um, unreliant on you as possible. So get people in place that are doing the day-to-day work. If you have a repeatable process, hand it over to your team, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to buy a job, right? Nobody wants to spend a million or $2 million and buy a 60, 80 hour a week job. So the less reliant the business is on you, the better, and the more exciting it is for potential buyers.
Entrepreneurs, especially those entrepreneurs who are online based entrepreneurs, this guest today helps you with funding to grow your business to 8 figures in revenue. As an online entrepreneur, there's a lot of adversity, but he helps you fight through challenges that are day after day by finding accredited investors with opportunities to passively invest in these online businesses. You've got to be established, but with some advice today, we're going to help you get to that point. Mike, thanks so much for joining us from Colombia, traveling back and forth to the States, still making time for us. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on here today.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. To date, his company has raised, yes, you're going to hear this correctly, $27 million across 5 rounds of funding, where they have now invested into 30 online businesses. Why can't yours be number 31? Their round one portfolios that were launched back in 2021 have averaged 15% cash yields in their first full year of operations. Can't argue with the numbers. That's one thing I love about stats. But let's talk about kind of who you're looking for as far as someone you can help and add value to. Which type of online company?
Yeah, absolutely. So exactly like you said, we're an online business investment fund. So we typically invest in websites, content-based businesses, e-commerce businesses, SaaS agencies, and so on. And what we do is we partner up with experienced operators, experienced portfolio managers, and accredited high net worth investors, and we bring them together inside of our fund.
Well, it's certainly intriguing to me as someone who's a finance major and now wrapped up in this entrepreneurial world. I know you had some experience at the big company Empire Flippers, but what wanted you to go out here and just be the founding partner over here?
Yeah, good question. So I actually used to work in finance in Chicago. I used to be a derivatives trader, and I saw this opening for a company called Empire Flippers. Went across the world, joined them, and they are a online business brokerage. So they basically sell these exact types of businesses that we invest in. And the question that we heard over and over again was, "Hey, this looks interesting. I can't believe I can buy these things at 3x annual profits, but I have no idea how to run one of these businesses, or I just had an exit. I don't have the time to run one of these businesses. Can you just run it for me?" And it wasn't some genius idea that we came up with ourselves. We simply heard that question over and over again, and then we realized, hey, maybe we should do what people are asking us to. There's clearly tons of demand here, and we've got all the right pieces in place to make it happen. So I left that company, ended up opening my own e-commerce business, and I stayed in touch with the founders and good friends with them. And then about 4 years ago, a little less than 4 years ago, we got together and we co-founded this together. So the managing partner and my co-founders are Justin Cook and Joe Magnotti, the original founders of Empire Flippers.
Well, congratulations on tapping into your network. Your existing network is there. You never know how you can help each other. He just shared a great example of that. And here in the show notes as well, traveled across the world to get started. We hear a lot about sacrifice. Sometimes there's a bigger sacrifice needed to get started. So I commend you on stepping outside your comfort zone and making that happen. I know, like many of us, we learn a lot of skills, a lot of lessons in our roles before jumping into entrepreneurship. You had various roles, several roles at this company where you helped thousands of people buy and sell online businesses. What were one of your bigger takeaways before hopping into your own business?
Yeah, I mean, The most exciting thing was joining at the time, a small company. I remember when I joined the company, it was the founders and a handful of employees, and just watching it take off like a rocket ship. By the time I left, the company had over 100 employees all over the world. They are the biggest broker for these types of online businesses. And the cool thing was having a front row seat to all this growth. So watching them overcome different types of challenges, watching them come up with different strategies, test them, iterate, and so on. So it was an absolutely amazing experience, absolutely amazing learning experience.
Learning experiences. Now, every year you get more into business. I look at everything I've done in the past a little differently from the internships, from the prior jobs, and there are takeaways that we can apply to ourselves. Some things I want to talk about here, some trends in the online business industry. You're at the forefront of this and the money-making opportunities and threats, as we spoke about. Let's dive in.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest positive or the biggest selling point for online businesses compared to traditional investments, traditional businesses, is the low multiple for which they trade at. So oftentimes you can buy one of these businesses for 3x annual profit. So the next thing that goes off in most investors' heads is like, great, well, if I just buy one of these and hold it and it stays the same, that's a 33% ROI. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. The first problem is these are actively managed businesses. So it's not like buying real estate where you just sit on it and rent it out. Maybe you make some improvements in the beginning. You have to run these businesses day to day. The other problem is it takes time to do this. And if you're buying small online businesses, let's say around the $1 million acquisition price, oftentimes these businesses don't have a established management team that would handle all the day-to-day operations. The other problem is single points of failure, and we've seen this with different types of monetizations. So most recently with content or websites getting hit by Google updates, losing traffic, and as a result, revenue and earnings. A couple of years ago, after COVID restrictions eased up, we saw massive supply chain constraints. So the guys running e-commerce businesses, it was hard to get inventory into the U.S. So lots of little risks. What we always tell our investors is don't try to pick the winners. Try to build a diversified portfolio with different risk factors run by different people.
That's great advice. Don't try to pick the winners. Well, in a perfect world, every investment we make is a winner, but that's not the way it is. And especially these VC guys, as you're having here today in front of you, they've got their hands in a lot of different investments because not every single one is going to be that blossoming fruit that they wish it would be. A lot of great stuff so far. What was your first invested online business? Like, which online business was the first one that you invested on as the founder of your company?
That's a really good question, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember. I
Well,
think we
I want to think
bought.
of maybe one of your lessons learned that you had in one of these earlier deals that now you're leveraging that lesson learned in these later deals now as you're progressing in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've made quite a few mistakes as we expected, and at the end of every quarter, we go back and look at the assets that we bought. We look at what we would do differently next time around buying businesses, and then same thing for operations, same thing for picking portfolio managers. One of the big lessons that we learned, and it sounds so obvious when you say it out loud, and in hindsight, is don't you can't do good business with bad people. So as we buy
Yep.
these online businesses, sometimes we'll come across an amazing asset. The cash flows are great, the upside is great, the downside is limited, but then you'll notice something during your due diligence as you're talking to the seller, and you will realize, well, the seller's kind of a difficult person. Maybe they're a little bit unethical, but you talk yourself into proceeding anyways because it's such a great asset. Well, more often than not, that leads to problems. So one rule that we came up with a couple of years ago here: no matter how far along we are in closing a deal, if we notice that the seller or the person that we're trying to do business with is unethical in any way, we'll back out. Even if it's the last minute, right before sending the money, right before signing the contract, we'll back out simply because if we discover it there, what other things are lurking that we haven't found? What unquantifiable risks are there that we haven't discovered yet?
That is great advice. And it's coincidental. I just did a LinkedIn post as we're recording this probably a few days ago where we had a talk at the ECC here in Tampa where we talked about if someone has the best product and the best service, are you going to refer someone to that company if they don't treat others well or there's some kind of hiccup behind the scenes? And you just said that, which makes me know that I'm not going crazy. I think I'm seeing things clearly. There's a lot of businesses that do similar things. There's a lot of companies we can give our money to as consumers. We have to give a reason for them to do it. Great, great advice there. You've been crushing it today. And you wouldn't even know this guy's tired that had a flight that came in late last night. He's on his game, and that's something you look for in people you want to do business with. They're fighting through any amount of adversity, even if just being up late. I now want to talk about how entrepreneurs can really tap into their existing online businesses. They want to get more growth potential before they sell, get their valuation a little higher. What are some things they can do as online businesses?
Yeah, really, really good question. So the biggest piece of advice I would have here is start early. So if you're looking to sell next month, there's a limited number of things that you can do today to get that business ready for sale. Try to start 3, 6, 9, 18, 24 months out, and you're going to be able to do quite a few things. Basically, get your financials in order. Make it really easy for potential buyers to understand exactly what's going on. I spent quite a bit of time doing this, working with sellers when I was working at the brokerage at Empire Flippers, and oftentimes we would see really good businesses making tons of money, and the first time they've organized their financials good enough to be able to see enough details to make really good business decisions is when they were getting their business ready for sale. So we would put together let me give you an example. So let's say there's an e-commerce business with 30 different SKUs. Business is absolutely killing it, running ads on all the different SKUs, but they've never put together a per SKU profit and loss statement. Well, sometimes it turns out actually half of their SKUs are unprofitable. The other half are so profitable that they're making up for it. The business is still doing amazing as a whole. And what we would tell those guys is like, look, I can sell this business for you right now. Or what you should really do is you should cut these 15 unprofitable SKUs, let the business run for another year, build up a track record, and I can sell it for significantly more. So it's oftentimes it's not the most exciting stuff if your background isn't in finance, but you can really move the needle quite a bit understanding it well. The other major thing I would say is make the business as um, unreliant on you as possible. So get people in place that are doing the day-to-day work. If you have a repeatable process, hand it over to your team, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to buy a job, right? Nobody wants to spend $1 million or $2 million and buy a 60, 80 hour a week job. So the less reliant the business is on you, the better, and the more exciting it is for potential buyers.
I got that just typed up here in the notes as well. This show has gone wild with value. And it's what you just talked about is exactly the problem I was in. My books were great. Everything was going great, the school speaking, but I can't sell any of that. I love what I do, but I can't sell just me. I can't sell me. It's my job. So with this podcast production company, we were just talking behind the scenes about some stuff we're working on outside the pod. The teams is built, the systems are in place, and everything now. I'm from the supervisor kind of outside role. Finally, and that took a whole incubator program to get through as I just graduated last week as we're recording this to get all my ducks in the line, get everything focused. I learned a lot today, but before we find out how to learn more from our guest, find out his website, LinkedIn, anything he wants to share, let's dive into this entrepreneur's brain. If you could pick any entrepreneur throughout history, someone you don't know, dead or alive, that you could sit down with, pick their brain, who would you choose to spend some time with?
Okay, really, really good question. So let's say somebody alive right now, just to make it easy. I'd probably say Elon Musk. I know this is probably a controversial answer. Some people hate him, some people love him, but it's hard to not admit some of the stuff that
I
he's
know.
done are absolutely incredible. And just really, there's been a bunch of interviews on him, and he's a vocal person, so a lot of the stuff is probably online already. But just seeing what drives him to keep going would be absolutely impressive, and how his thought process works for approaching problems. I'm not saying I would want the guy's life, but I'm saying what he's accomplished is absolutely impressive.
Can't argue with you there, just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, just You think like, oh, SpaceX is big. Oh no, we have Tesla. Oh no, now we're on putting chips in brains, or I can't even keep up. But that's an entrepreneurial motivation story. Thank you for sharing. Let's delve deeper. Where would you choose to meet him if you have the opportunity to choose that too?
Ooh, good question. Maybe on a rocket going to Mars or something crazy like that.
On
That'd
the
be cool too.
way.
Maybe, probably not on the first one. I'd want to see a few of them go and come back, but maybe once they've done a handful of them.
I love when guests choose like something of the other person's because that's their comfort zone. If I'm sitting down with somebody, I want them as comfortable as possible. I want them to just be in their zone, their norm. Thank you so much for joining the show. I really appreciate you taking the time. Do me the kindness of sharing your website, LinkedIn, or any of the best ways to get in touch with you so our listeners can connect.
Yeah, and absolutely. Best place is our website, webstreet.co. If you are a potential investor that's accredited looking for passive investments, you can find all the information there. If you are currently running online businesses, maybe you've built a bunch of them. Ideally, you've bought multiple online businesses and are running them, and you're looking to raise money from investors, you can go there as well and get all the information that you need. And then also, if you're not either one of those, like let's say you're not looking to invest, you're not looking to work with us as a portfolio manager, but you're running your own online businesses and you want to see what we're up to, you want to see what strategies our experienced portfolio managers are using, feel free to look around. You'll find tons of valuable information.
I appreciate you sharing that, everyone. You have to start somewhere. You have to get going. And I'm sure on his website, there are some resources that can help you get where you need to go. He shared at what point he becomes a resource for you. So if anyone is in your network that might be a good fit for him, or you eventually are, be sure to remember that website. But with that, our website is thatentrepreneurshow.com and vincentalanci.com. All podcast platforms, you can find this show, and on all social media platforms, same handle. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Vincent A. Lanci, to see the show's channel underneath, where a few weeks after the show goes live, you'll get some video footage from today's show. But with that, we are signing off. Thank you so much once again for taking some time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on here.